Great. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our September meeting. I have like my sweater and my scarf on this morning. It's actually feeling like fall. I'm not mad about it. I know some of you might be. I'm kind of enjoying it. So we'll go around and do some introductions, and then I did want to spend 1 second talking about what's going on in Leominster, and if Providence also wants to talk about the flooding, and then I'll hand it over to Kevin Rice, who actually lives in Leominster and maybe can add his own take, and will be talking to us about the Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park. I got it. A word for that one. So we'll go around quickly. Kaylee, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm the restoration coordinator at the Collab.
Thanks. Kevin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin. I'm the management and program analyst for Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park, and you'll hear a lot more from me later.
You're real good at saying that quick. It takes me a while. Ted.
Hi, Ted Beauvais. I'm president of the Blackstone River Watershed Association.
Thanks. Donna.
Donna Williams, Blackstone River Coalition and Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor.
All the Blackstones. Adam.
Hi, Adam Knapp, town planner for Auburn.
Thanks. Kate.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kate McPherson. I'm Save the Bay's Narragansett Bay River Keeper.
Thanks. Josh.
Good morning. I'm Josh Hall, and I'm Save the Bay's new community organizer.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Rebecca.
Good morning, Rebecca Quiñones from Mass Wildlife.
Thanks. John Marsland.
Morning, I'm John Moslin, president of the Blackstone River Watershed Council, Friends of the Blackstone.
Thanks, John. Julia.
Morning, everyone. I'm Julia Chun, Sustainability Project Manager for the town of Hopkinton.
Thanks for joining. Christina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina, and I am an intern at Senator Reed's office.
Great. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Hillary.
Morning, I'm Hillary King. I work for the state of Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And I'll just say the MVP program, put it in the chat.
Thanks. Nick Cohen.
Good morning, this is Nick Cohen. I'm an environmental planner with the Horsley Wayne Group. Nice to see everyone.
Thanks, you too. And Kelly.
Good morning, Kelly King, also an environmental planner with the Horsley Wayne Group.
Thanks. Darcy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Darcy Young with the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program.
Thanks. Greg.
Greg Dorschler, Worcester Intercollegiate Outdoors Initiative Coordinator with the Greater Worcester Land Trust.
Thanks, Greg. Peter.
Peter Coffin, the coordinator with the Blackstone River Coalition.
Thanks. Michael.
Good morning. My name is Mike Wilkinson, and I'm an engineer with the Natural Resource Conservation Service in Rhode Island.
Thanks. Sarah mentioned that she couldn't introduce herself, but she works with Mass Audubon's Broadmeadow Brook Wildlife Sanctuary as an education coordinator, which is in Worcester. Mark.
I'm Mark Dombrowski. I work for RIDOT in the Environmental Division.
Thanks. Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather Perry. I work for the Blackstone River Coalition. I'm the Volunteer Water Quality Program Coordinator.
David.
Yeah, David Tapscott from Uxbridge Board of Health and involved in MVP.
Thanks. Cassandra.
So sorry. Cassandra Flores, Senator Reed's office.
Thank you. And we've got a couple Sarahs. Oh, Sarah Plotnicki.
Hello, I'm Sarah Plotnicki. I'm a resiliency planner at the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission.
Thanks, Sarah. And Susie.
Hi there. Apologies for being late. I'm Susie Bresney. I'm with the Division of Ecological Restoration.
Thank you. And we have Fiona. Fiona's autopilot. If you want to introduce yourself, feel free. Did I miss anybody? Apologies. I feel like I always miss somebody. No. Okay. Well, with that, I did want to mention, because in case you don't remember, or if you haven't heard yet, we just made our registration live for our dam removal and ecological restoration training that is happening on October 26th. And Kaylee, if you can grab that Eventbrite real quick and throw it in the chat, I hope you all are able to join us and sign up. It's free. We give you breakfast and lunch. We haven't reached out yet, but we will be pursuing some sponsorship opportunities. So if your organization is interested in sponsoring, let me know, because we do have an EPA grant, but we can't pay for all the food with the EPA grant. So we're still looking to be able to feed everybody. But it was in the news recently, and thanks, Kevin, for putting that link in the chat, that we had a lot of flooding, probably in a lot of places. I know Providence experienced flooding, and Leominster, Massachusetts, which is outside of our watershed, but about half an hour north of Worcester, experienced massive flooding. They had a dam failure and a dam that they're concerned will fail, and they had to take some emergency measures. They had about 11 inches of rain in a very short time period. I looked that up, and it's more than 1,000-year storm when you look at the NOAA Atlas 14. So this is a big old storm that came in, and we always hear that, oh, we don't need to plan for, let alone the 100-year, the 500-year, the 1,000-year, but these storms are coming so much more frequently now. And it's all of this rain all at once. We did a couple tours of our combined sewer overflow facility in Worcester, and that was the exact same thing that our operators were saying, that we just are not able to handle a lot of rain in a very short period of time, and that's what we keep seeing. So I had a friend that called me that was stuck on the side of the road, and she said there was a sinkhole on one side that 5 or 6 cars could fit in. She saw cars floating away in the street because it was so flooded on the other side. There was a house on fire behind her, and it was basically the apocalypse in Leominster. And she was stuck from about 6 p.m. until 11 p.m. And then she got to go through somebody's backyard basically to get to another street and get home. So it's crazy. And it just really highlights the need to be able to plan ahead and think ahead for these massive storms that are really not that uncommon now. And also to address our failing infrastructure, and this infrastructure that was built a very long time ago with very different storms in mind that we still have today. And particularly undersized culverts and dams that might not serve a purpose anymore are two that we'd really like to focus on in the collaborative. So we'd love to work with you on what your needs are as communities, and make sure that you get the technical assistance and funding, and we can support you in grant applications and all of these things. And in terms of technical assistance, we'd love for you to come to that dam removal and ecological restoration training. So I don't know if anyone else wants to mention anything about what they experienced before I hand it over to Kevin. Okay. Kevin, go ahead. You can mention Leominster if you want, and then pop on into the national park.
Yeah, sure. I think that one of the biggest things, just as I was on my way home during it, the road was closed by a gentleman that just had some cones and flashes on his car that worked for a utility company. He called the police, and they said that they have no one to go there, even though multiple cars were stuck in the water. We were just talking about, like, can you imagine if this was a small town with no actual fire department, where it was all volunteers or anything? They were calling in retired firefighters to try to help. So it was just such a mess. So I can only imagine what it would have been like for a smaller city with less of a budget for a lot of this stuff. But that was just my personal experience. It was a lot of fun. I always try to have fun. So I am not very well versed in Zoom. I found that out yesterday during our GMP meeting. So I'm going to try to share my screen and share my presentation. It'll work. Positivity. So that's screen. Open.
Looking good so far.
Cool. All right. Can you see the presentation itself, or is it like in the PowerPoint window?
In the PowerPoint mode.
Like, can you see like the sidebars and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Then present.
Perfect.
All right. So this version, because usually in Teams it would pop up my notes on the side, we're going to have a less history-driven side of this presentation because I don't have any of the notes. But that's fine. Thank you, number one, Stephanie, for letting us kind of talk a little bit about the national park, for being a great partner. Thank you for everyone on this call for being here. So the number one question that you probably should be asking right now is, who am I? I've only been here a couple of years. So I am the Management and Program Analyst for Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park and Roger Williams National Memorial. Usually I joke that means I have the longest title in the room, but I heard a couple of longer ones, so maybe not. I've been working with the National Park Service for about 5 years. I've worked for 10 different national parks, and I have a master's in public history from Southern New Hampshire University. Usually when someone hears my title, they say, well, what does that really mean? And I never have a very good answer. Whenever something needs to get done, I'm usually part of it. Whether that be speaking with some of our stakeholders or helping out around the park or going to a school group because we don't have any rangers. So here's a couple pictures of just the wide range of things that I do. So that's me digging a hole under the bridge between Wilkinson and Slater. That's us during our general management plan back in the spring. The bottom left is me speaking with some interns from both Senator Whitehouse and Senator Reed's office. And then the bottom right is during the Zap the Blackstone 50th anniversary. There was a tire, which was at the state park that was finally low enough waters that someone could get out there and get. So the park itself is very unique for the National Park Service. So it was born from the John H. Chafee Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor. It was established as part of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2015, which was signed by President Barack Obama in late 2014. And currently all of its staff are housed out of Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and have collateral duties in Providence, Rhode Island. But also some of us also work in New Bedford as well, especially our maintenance preservation staff and our administration staff. That's a nice little picture that we have of Slater. And then this is Ranger Andy at Roger Williams. It's pretty unique, especially because we were a park for multiple years before we owned any land at all. The park was established in 2014. However, we did not take control of our first land, which was Old Slater Mill Historic District, until 2021 in March. So I always like to start with, like, everyone, usually if you're from the area, you think of the National Heritage Corridor. So you think of the very large encompassment of what the Heritage Corridor is, which a lot of it is really done either through agreements or it's because it's in the watershed, or the Heritage Corridor is pretty complex as well. Now, I always make people imagine this huge corridor and think, how much land do you think the Park Service actually has within its boundaries of this Heritage Corridor? This kind of gives it away. We have these 6 arrowheads on the map, which is really where we have our boundaries. So a little bit closer zoomed in, you can see that instead of being all the way up in Worcester and all the way down in Providence, it's now the north of this map is Upton. That's as far as we really get close to. So we have the Little Red Shop Local Historic District, the Whitensville Historic District, Blackstone River State Park and Ashland Historic District, Slatersville Historic District, and then that Old Slater Mill National Historic Landmark. So then you think, okay, well, they have their boundaries and all of this, so they must own it all. So we'll go one by one and kind of talk about it. So we'll talk about Old Slater Mill National Historic Landmark District. pretty soon, but that's kind of the outline of the park. We then have a easement on the Blackstone River State Park, and then across the way is the Ashland Historic District. The easement pretty much is just an agreement that we can be able to do a lot of interpretive programming there. We can agree on different things that happen at the site. It's really just a good handshake. We don't own it. With Ashland, we especially don't own anything. There's a lot of private companies that are within that. There are people that they grew up there. There's a very nice apartment right along the river. However, we are able to be able to do programs about the mill villages there. The picture on the bottom right is actually during the Take Me Fishing Day that the park had at the Blackstone River State Park a couple weeks ago. That's one of our like key staples that we really keep going back to. Another is the Slatersville Historic District. So you can kind of see the intertwined web that these different boundaries and historic districts can become, and why it gets so confusing for a lot of people of, okay, well, what's the national park? What do they own? What's the historic district? It's all different factions. So you will see our signage around there a little bit. We just started installing those recently. But you can see our boundaries and how it kind of acts with the historic district. Next up, we have Whitensville. Once again, their historic district is pretty massive. It's all centered around that Whiten Mill, which you can see in the background of the picture to the right. However, the boundary is much smaller. It's pretty much just that main center area where you have the little triangular common ground across the street from the library. If you've this picture on the bottom right is showing Ranger Clyburn talking to our folks from the region and Denver Service Center during our general management plan meetings. I think this was last year. And kind of just talking about, okay, why is it here? Why is it important? What do we care about? And things like that. The next one, we have the Little Red Shop Local Historic District, and this is my favorite one ever. You can see that big historic district boundary. However, you see that little tiny green blip on the map. That is the building, the little bit of land surrounding it and going over to the dam. It is very small. However, Little Red Shop is one of those really interesting places that tells so many different stories, especially just Hopedale. You get stories of the commune that was there, then the Draper family, then the building of the factories, and how it all became just this one, what they call the utopia, and there's great work being done kind of being able to tell that story. One of my favorite things to do with people, especially when talking about why Blackstone River is a park, the national park now, and why it's important, is showing the images of the transformation of the Hopedale area. So if you go on Google Maps right now and you look up 9 Hopedale Street and you change it to back in September of 2013, this is what you get. We have the Little Red Shop, and right behind it is the absolutely massive Draper factory, which does a fantastic job of showing really just the size and the tiny little town built around it and how it would be able to react. Now, unfortunately, if you look up the Google Street image now, this is what you get. So we really try to talk about why it's important to be able to preserve these things while we can, why it's good to be able to have local historic districts. The Draper factory was not within them, so it wasn't protected by anything. It was privately owned, and you can do whatever you want with it. The status now of that land is really up in the air. It's privately owned. The Park Service and the federal government really can't do anything about it. So we really talk about this Little Red Shop as one of those last pieces of this entire story that we can try to keep going forward. Then, of course, my favorite is the Old Slater Mill National Historic Landmark District. It is currently the only land that BLRD, which is Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park, owns. It includes 3 buildings, which is Slater Mill, Wilkinson, and the Brown House, and it has been used for multiple events in the past. However, events are now applied for via permit, but we are always happy to play host. This is a picture of our fish migration parade that we had not too long ago with you folks. And really, anytime that we can have our Indigenous populations here is really a treat and something that we're really striving to do every day. Now, if you notice, there's parts of the map that are shaded in green and parts of the map that aren't shaded in green. And that's because the ones shaded in green are things that we own. The ones not shaded in green is what we do not own. So if you can just picture back at how big that the Blackstone River Valley is, and now going all the way into Pawtucket, and it's just this little shaded area that we own. So it's really interesting. And one thing that you might notice that is not shaded in is the Slater Mill Dam. Built in 1792 for the purpose of harnessing water power for the Slater Mill, it is currently still owned by the Old Slater Mill Association, and the National Park Service is in the process of acquiring the Slater Mill Dam. However, it's a long process, as we've all seen. There have been steps forward that we're able to see. However, it's still just a really long process, which means that a lot of the work that's being done on Fish Passage is still being done with Old Slater Mill Association. So you can see that the parcel of land that is river left, which is on the south end of this map here, is still Old Slater Mill Association property as well, which is where that fish ladder is really being planned on, or Fish Passage is planned on going in. So Old Slater Mill Association still has a really large voice in this. We always try to make sure to be clear that we are happy to support things, but it's not our land. We can support as much as we want until that. So what do we care about? This is not an all-inclusive, so please don't get offended if something that you care about is not listed here. We probably care too, but it's just something that I jotted down. So community engagement is one of the big ones for our site. We want to make sure that people feel that they can come to a national park and they can feel safe. Being one of the only real solid green areas in that part of Pawtucket is really important to us, that we can have people from the community come down and feel like they're. My cat's very loud if you can hear him. He's not being torched. Okay, good. Another one is telling the story of the Blackstone River and the Blackstone River Valley, both pre-contact and post-contact. A lot of documentations or just a lot of books, when you read about the Blackstone River Valley, they will call it the birth of industry in America, which is one of the key things that really upset our Indigenous partners, where industry has happened in America for a very long time. The birth of the Industrial Revolution in America as a solid event, sure, we could call it that. But we want to make sure that we're telling the story not only of Europeans got here and they did everything that they could to try to make it habitable and better for themselves, but also what happened to other populations because of that. Tribal relations, like I said, we are very fortunate that there's been a lot of hard work to try to create these connections. We have what we call a tribal roundtable with our local tribal partners to really try to make sure that not only are the things that we're doing now in best interest of everyone, but also our planning documents in the future, which I'll chat a tiny bit about the general management plan just as a plug, but making sure that they have a voice in the land that was theirs and still is. Opportunities of beneficial environmental actions for the river and valley. We really care about this. We want to make sure that we're as good of stewards for the land and the river as possible, and supporting that any way that we can. Finding and creating opportunities for collaborations with partners is massive for us. We are what is called a new image of a park, which is a partner park, which means we don't own a lot. However, we get out as much as we can within not only the valley, but the watershed. We find ourselves in Chiphatched as much as we can, going up to Worcester to be able to look at the plant with you folks, doing our walks and our walkabout tours as much as we can in all different locations that we can. We want to be able to create the collaboration with you folks as much as possible. Preservation and conservation of natural and cultural resources is absolutely massive for our site, making sure that we're making the best decisions that we can for both the environment, but also the buildings that we have. We're thinking about sustainability as much as possible. We're not investing money into something that's going to wash away, things like that, which is really a National Park Service goal. And then, of course, recreational opportunities for the Blackstone River. We know, just as normal civilians, how important it is that you can go somewhere and do something, and just being able to drive the tourism through recreational opportunities on the Blackstone River is something we really want to work with and work with you folks on. The National Park Service has the rivers and trails conservation where they're able to help out as much as possible. And it's something we're very passionate about. So a little bit behind the curtain, who do we have internally to help with our goals? A lot of times you think the National Park Service, you think of a very large government, probably have a good amount of people under it. We have a little chunk of staffing. So this is our org chart. I kept out names just so no one felt really weird about it, but we got our superintendent on top. Under him is myself, our supervisory park ranger, supervisory facility operations, cultural resources, and admin officer. You can see that both admin and cultural resources, it's one person. And that's one person for either 2 or 3 parks. So we're really, really light on that. You can also see that we don't have a natural resource person. That's why we do rely on partnerships so much. It's a blind spot that we have. It's one that we want to fix. It's one that we don't have money to fix, and we hope that we will one day. Guide, a couple Roger Williams specific park rangers and a visual information specialist. Their job is really keeping Slater Mill open to the public as much as we can, having school groups through, special interest groups through, and also just going throughout the valley and doing as much as we can. We do a lot of work at the Blackstone River State Park in Lincoln, Rhode Island. We try to help keep the Kelly House open. So we get stretched pretty thin pretty quick. We only have 4 maintenance workers that are, these are all year round as well. We do have 2 seasonal park rangers and 1 seasonal maintenance worker. But we have 4 maintenance workers that are at this site and also at Roger Williams. And they also have collateral work at New Bedford Whalen, which is a park that we partner up with a lot. So we're stretched thin very quickly on that too. And we have something like the flooding in downtown Providence, and we have these hurricanes popping up more and more. It's really hard to be able to try to make it work for everyone. So usually this is where a lot of people would show off people in front of tours and stuff, but these are our maintenance workers. They're some of my favorite people. So this is Nate that's inside the cupola. He's a historic carpenter, which is absolutely incredible. Like, you give him a piece of black walnut and he'll make a crossbeam out of it. It's fantastic. This is Jay doing what he actually wants to do. He does a lot of our concerts. He's also worked for Old Slater Mill Association before. So when we inherited Old Slater Mill we tried to inherit him as well. And we were actually able to get him on our team, which he's just invaluable, the amount of knowledge that he has and the amount of duct tape and gum that was used to hold a lot of these pieces together. He chewed the gum and he bought the duct tape for it, which is fantastic. And then Corey Gonzalez is another one that just does invaluable work. He does a lot of our masonry. So we have a lot of bluestone that has to be replaced and bricks, and he's incredible with that. So who we work with, once again, not all encapsulating. This was like 5 minutes of me just thinking. We got a lot of people out. If you do not see your name or organization, let's throw it on. Let's collaborate. But we're able to do some really cool things with it. So, like, we had Science Saturday that was partnered with the Providence Parks Urban Wildlife Refugee and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, which I don't even think I threw on this. But just another example of the amount of people that we have on this, and we can get very, I think I'm losing video for a second, sorry. But you should be able to see the back. But we do as much as we can with them. We had Take Me Fishing Day, which again, that was partnered with Rhode Island DEM. And also we got a lot of help from John Marsland and his folks. This is a picture of when we did World War II Day, which was at the Whiten Mill, Open Sky, which we were able to partner with. And we even had them partner for our GMP meeting last night. And then, of course, we partner with as many people as we can to try to get things done. So this was during Secretary Deborah Holland's visit a couple months ago, working with our local, state, and federal partners as much as possible to try to make sure that we're all working towards the same goal. So what are we up to now? We have our general management plan currently going. So the draft general management plan and environmental assessment is open for public comment. It sets long-term goals for the park and provides broad direction for preservation and visitor use. And it also sets the desired conditions for the park. The environmental assessment doesn't really have too much to it right now because the park's not changing anything. Usually what happens is that when a park will take something over, they'll say like, we need to build a visitor center. And then that's part of the general management plan. And then the environmental assessment says, well, you're ruining A, B, and C. This is D and E that you can do to try to help it. We're not building anything with this park, so we don't really have too much. But both of these act as a foundation for the future specific actions that we can reach. So what I kind of mean from that is that we're not really looking so much for like, you guys need to be on the river more. However, we're looking for, you guys need to offer more diverse opportunities. So that will be part of the general management plan. And then once this is finished, we can then start going in and using different actions to be able to hit that. Like more diverse opportunity would be getting on the river. River cleanups, things like that can all be built off of it. If it'll let me, I'll click on this. Let me know if it, can you see the page or does it just still show my?
We're still seeing the slideshow. I think if you stop sharing and then share again that specific program, we'll be able to see it. Yep, there you go.
So this is what it looks like. So all you got to do is go to this page, which was on the PowerPoint, and there's also pretty, I can put in the chat, but parkplanning.nps.gov/Blackstone GMP. It will bring you to this site. You can go to open for comment because some sites have multiple things open for comment. So you're just going to pick the only one that we have. Here you can download the GMP environmental assessment combined. There's also a newsletter, which is really helpful because it kind of just encapsulates a lot that we're talking about here, why we're doing it and stuff like that. And then you can do comment now. And all you have to put in is your city, state, and postal code. You don't have to put in your information if you don't want. And then the second that you hit submit, this gets sent to our Denver Service Center people. And then they send it directly to Eric. So it also doesn't go into like the federal void that you see a lot of times when it's like, we care what you think and submit this page. And it just doesn't happen. They also have in here, which I always like to show out, the document list is the story map. The EA and GMP get to, I think it's 160 pages. It's a lot. It's a lot of policy. It's a lot of work. This is the same thing, just in a prettier way and a lot less words. And it also like has zoom in, so like managing strategies, where we are. You can zoom into the different historic districts. It'll show you the outline and everything. So this one's a lot easier to go through than that GMP and EA. We've had 3 meetings in the past 2 days. The participation that we've had has been fantastic. However, it's not enough. It's enough federal policy wise, we can do whatever. But we just want the more voices that we have, the better that we think that it'll really come out. So if you folks are able to go through that, go through anything you can and let us know what you think and comment. Other than that, questions?
Thanks so much, Kevin. There was like 4 different times where I wanted to be like, oh, can you mention this? And then you mentioned it. So it was perfect. It's like you read my mind. I just want to, echo what you said of, the Park Service is not necessarily the first partner that you would think of for a, watershed organization, but you guys are one of our closest partners, actually. Like we work with you more than we work with a lot of other organizations. And Kevin's not lying when he said they're always up to host events and programs and they make it so easy. I was nervous about having to get my permit, and we just set a meeting and Kevin was like, answer these questions out loud. I will write it down. I will make the map for you. Like, you have a permit now. It was super easy. It was great. And it's such a wonderful location because it's right in downtown Pawtucket. It's right next door to City Hall and the police station. There's a bus stop right there. So when you do events, even if you have a specific group that you have invited that are coming, you might have random passerby just kind of pop on in. At our fish parade, people just walked in. They're like, what's going on? And started marching in the parade with us. So it's just a great location. And we're very fortunate to have you guys as such good partners.
Yeah, and also whenever needed, like letters of support for different things that you folks are going for, like please reach out to me directly. I'm more than happy One of my big parts of my job is really trying to be a cog of communication between the outside and our superintendent, because his inbox becomes a void pretty quickly at times. So if you're looking for something like that, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, thanks. Does anyone have questions for Kevin? Feel free to put them in the chat or just unmute yourself. Thank you, Hillary, for putting that link in there. All right, you're off the hook easy, Kevin. Thank you. If you happen to have a question later, feel free to just send it along. Okay, so let's go through our specific subgroup updates, and then we'll go into our partner updates. So for Bikeway Greenway, just to mention that Woonsocket is, it's not quite Greenway, but I sort of snuck it in there anyway. Woonsocket is looking to expand a greenway within the city for stormwater management best practices on Truman Bypass. So I heard about this and took a walk with the city planner a couple of years ago, and it was on pause. So I'm really happy to hear that it's moving forward again. It's going to be a big transformation of that area and have much better walkability, much better stormwater management, a lot more green space, a lot more kind of positive public interaction when you're walking down. It's not just going to feel like a concrete jungle. So that's pretty exciting. For university work, I don't think we have Bryce Dubois on our call today, but we are working with him again. We worked with him last year as well for his class on community-based learning. And this year they're focusing on combined sewer overflow in Worcester. So they're going to be doing community interviews to find out what people know about CSO and what they want to know about it. And also looking at other cities throughout the country to see what kind of education and outreach programs they have around CSO. So hopefully we'll be able to create a report at the end, provide that to the city, and have some recommendations of next steps for potential outreach and education. We're also still working on a video of what is CSO for the city of Worcester. So we've done a lot of the videography part. We're just kind of finalizing our narrative, and we'll be putting it together as a draft. We have to get approval from the city of Worcester before we share anything out. But we hopefully will have that for you in the next couple of months. So definitely exciting, and I think overdue. For passage, just a couple reminders. One is the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program has their annual biodiversity symposium coming up. Wild Things in Narragansett Bay. That is on Friday, October 6th, which is way sooner than you think it is. Thank you, Darcy, for that link. The keynote speaker is John Waldman. I put my book down in the other room, but I have the Running Silver book that he wrote. So they're literally having the guy that wrote the book come and be the keynote. So please, please, please come check it out. It's going to be pretty exciting. Might fangirl just a little bit. And another mention that we are working with the Department of Environmental Management in Rhode Island to submit an application to NOAA for their NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity, on some passage, outreach, and public engagement around fish passage. So we're crossing our fingers on that one. We have also, as the collaborative, worked with the New England Environmental Finance Center out of the University of Maine, who is the same group that runs the SNEP network, if you've heard about them. So we're working with them. We just submitted a grant to EPA SOAR for similar work. We're hoping to do some community planning charrettes with Emily Vogler, who wrote the Narragansett Bay Dam Atlas that you heard about a couple months ago, and do some, what do we do with these dams? How do we create fish passage? What's important to you as a community? Do you care about flooding? Do you care about restoration? Do you care about access? And having those conversations and hopefully influencing what that fish passage will eventually look like for those upper two dams of Valley Falls and Elizabeth Webbing. So fingers crossed we have that funding coming in to be able to do that community outreach. I think whenever we talk about fish passage with folks, people are like, I haven't heard about this in so long. I didn't know if it was going forward. I would love to hear more about it. Like, please include me in the conversation. So we want to be able to fill that gap. For water quality, we have a tour coming up next Thursday, the 21st, and we're doing a tour of the Upper Blackstone Clean Water, which is the wastewater treatment facility on the Worcester-Millbury border. This is something that I know a lot of folks asked for and really wanted to dive in and see, like, what does this look like? It's a very intricate and complicated and kind of fascinating process. The water that comes out of that facility meets basically clean drinking water standards, and they're putting cleaner water into the river than the quality of the river itself. So it's pretty impressive what they've been able to do there, and we would love for you to join us. So we'll give you a link to that as well if you can register for that. Thank you. I ran through those without asking you guys if you had updates, so we'll just kind of pop over to everybody else's updates now. If you guys want to share what you have going on.
Yes, Stephanie, it's Ted Bove from the Blackstone River Watershed Association. A couple of things. One of them actually relates to water quality. We're going to have a vacancy with the water quality monitoring program in the mid-reach. It's housed in Uxbridge, is where the lab's located, at the Tri-Rivers Healthcare Facility in Uxbridge. And there's, I think, 28 field monitoring sites that are part of that. And some of you may know Mike Sperry. He's been doing that for a long time. He wants to be moving on to other things. So we'll be filling that. We're working on updating the job description and some of the duties description, but basically it's overseeing the field work and overseeing the lab work and working with the BRWA and with Heather Perry from the Blackstone River Coalition. She's kind of the general overseer of all the water quality monitoring that we do monthly and have been doing for a number of years. So that, if you're interested in that, we'll have more information out. I'll share it through Stephanie. And then our annual meeting of the Blackstone River Watershed Association is coming up Monday, the 18th. It's going to be in Grafton, Massachusetts, in the common room of the library. It's a new addition to the library. It's a really nice space. We're looking forward to having people show up. I'll put the registration link in the chat. It's also in the agenda under events. We encourage you to register. We'll have light refreshments, and Emily Vogler is going to give a longer, more in-depth, more finalized version of her dam atlas and decision tools. She'll have an hour and 15 minutes or more to present and answer questions. So if you saw a little bit about that here a few months ago when Emily was on for about a half hour, we'll have a longer, more finalized version of that with Emily on Monday.
Awesome. Thank you, Ted. And we do have that in our events. So yeah, definitely check that out. Other events or grant opportunities or things that you guys are excited about and working on that you want to share with everybody?
Sure, this is Kate. I wanted to share that Save the Bay was asked by the city of Woonsocket to submit a letter of support. The city is looking at improvements to Cass Pond. Right now, there's a ton of sediment in the pond. A lot of the sediment comes from the stormwater system. The stormwater system was recently completely cleaned, and the city has switched over to non-sediment wintertime road traction practices. So brine instead of that salty sandy mix. I think the city's proposal sort of misses the mark a little bit in terms of habitat improvement, but I see this as a really nice opportunity for Save the Bay to come in and maybe steer the project in a more ecologically relevant way. I grew up in North Smithfield. I spent a lot of time at Cass Park when I was a young person, and to see a urban pond restored to a more natural feature is something that I'm looking forward to hopefully working with the city on. I also wanted to share that Save the Bay is still hiring. We are still looking for an executive director. We are looking for a director of operations for our new aquarium in Newport. The new aquarium is going to be much more accessible than the last aquarium. It's right. If you've ever been to Newport, it's, the first exit off the bridge. There's public parking there. It's the bus terminal. And if you take the ferry to Newport, I want to say the ferry lands right there. So you can even take the ferry from India Point Park in the summertime, and it's walking distance to our aquarium. We're right at that visitor center. So we're looking for a director of operations to help with that. And then I believe there are a couple more positions on our website. So I'll put a link in the chat. If you know anybody who you think would be a good fit, definitely direct them to our page. Lots going on. I think I'll stick to those two sort of updates for right now, though.
Great. Thank you so much, Kate. Peter.
Yeah, hi, Steph. Peter Coffin, the Blackstone River Coalition. Two important updates. Thank you and for your support for our website. We've got a new website, the Blackstone River Coalition, yes, and with a clickable map. So we'll be sending out a notice when that goes live so that people can tap into that. So that's been a long time coming. So that's good news.
And you're going to be our speaker for next month to show everybody how fantastic it is.
I think Heather and I can do that. Yes, if that's what you want. Yeah.
Yes, please. I would love to see that. And I would love for you to record it because I actually can't be here next month.
Oh,
but I'm very excited to see that.
Okay. The other major announcement that we can go public with now is thanks to the Conservation Law Foundation, and they're suing, it used to be State Line Auto, but got bought by Schnitzer. So there are two outdoor junkyards in the Blackstone Valley that are not doing what they're supposed to for stormwater. So CLF has sued them successfully, and there will be a total of $150,000 coming to support environmental programs related to the nexus of those two sites. So there's going to be 50,000 going to the Blackstone River Watershed Council for access development down near East Providence, Central Falls. And then there's going to be 50,000 going to the BRWA for education and outreach, especially related to the Worcester site. And then there's going to be 50,000 coming to the coalition to continue the water quality monitoring watershed wide. So I go every week to the bank. So they have until November to pay that money. So we're looking good. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the update that's finally official. I know we kind of mentioned it a little while ago, but wasn't totally complete. So that's a very exciting opportunity for, that supplemental improvement to put the money towards a good place and not just a fine, and really be able to improve the habitat and the access in the Blackstone. So thanks. Sarah.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Sarah Funnicky. I'm a resiliency planner at CMRPC. So we just received a decent amount of money from the EEA. We received funds through the new MVP 2.0 program. And we applied on behalf of Uxbridge, Sutton, Douglas, and Northbridge. So it's almost $300,000 to kick off that process. So basically MVP 2.0, it kind of builds on the community's experiences of how extreme weather events will impact infrastructure and environmental assets going forward. And it will have like a greater focus on creating social resilience. So looking further into the factors that create vulnerability for people like living and working in these four towns. So digging deeper into issues like food security, housing affordability, and internet access, and just like looking at how these factors shape what's needed going forward to build resilience to climate change. So as part of the project, we will be looking for community liaisons located either, so we'll be looking for people that either live or work in Uxbridge, Sutton, Douglas, and Northbridge. And these positions will be paid. And so they'll be part of a core team with CMRPC and with reps from each of the 4 towns. So they'll be doing a lot of community outreach to see how we can, make these towns more resilient to climate change impacts. So the topics that we would be, going into would be, like access to healthy food, housing, and transportation, ways to stay cool during heat waves. So we'll be releasing those job postings. We're hoping within the next week or so. And if you would like more information, or if you would like to receive the flyers to circulate in these communities, feel free to reach out to me. I can drop my email in the chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited about that. I also, we've identified that sort of sub-watershed in the Mumford as such a critical area with all of its cold water fisheries and intact habitat, but also so many dams and culverts. So there's a huge need to work there. And I selfishly also live in Sutton and just am always around this area. So I'm very excited for that project to move forward and hear about what's going on. Great. And John, go ahead. And you're on mute still.
Me?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I'll give you an update on the conservation law firm. We're using our funds to restore Granite Park. It's one of the original parks from the ZAP days back in 1972. And it's actually runs through 3 communities in 2 states, Pawtucket, Attleboro, and Cumberland. And the Haskell-Manisco Band of Nipmucks is also receiving funds to test the sediment in the upper Blackstone behind the Walmart. And they're going to do some core sampling, and Brown University is assisting them with testing the core samples. And we're also having another intertribal gathering at Slater Mill on October 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. If everyone wants to come down to that and help support the Fish Ladder project, appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Do you have a website for that yet? Do you want us to make something for you, just or a Facebook page or something?
Yeah, I would appreciate that if you can help me out.
We can do that for you.
All right, thanks.
Let's figure it out, and we can add it on our website as an event as well. Perfect. Thank you. Other updates that folks want to share? I know we don't have Heidi on our call today, but Heidi Ritchie from Mass Audubon was, I don't know if you received the invitation, but she mentioned last time that Growing Solar, Protecting Nature is a new document talking about what changes to policy incentives and land use planning that Massachusetts can pursue in order to balance the need for alternative energy sources, but also protect our natural and working lands in the state. So the launch of that and talking about the document, what they found, is going to be on October 2nd at 11 a.m. We have a link in the notes and we'll send that out to you. And I think we don't have Judy this time either, but DEP has their 2nd annual non-point source management forum coming up on 9/20. I think it's not the most exciting name, but it will be a really good event, and we can hear about what DEP's water quality grant programs are all about and hear some more hands-on experience from the Mystic River Watershed Association, putting in infiltration trenches and managing stormwater that way in their watershed. So that is going to be next Wednesday, I think, September 20th. It's via Zoom from 9:30 to 12:30. So you can still sign up for that one. And let's see. MACC, Mass Association of Conservation Commissions, has their Environmental Service Award nominations open right now. So if you have some folks that you would like to nominate, you can send them to staff at maccweb.org. They're a great organization that I know doesn't actually come to our meetings, but we do work with outside of these meetings and gives a lot of support to volunteer conservation commissions throughout the state. Oh yes, MVP is always hiring. It's very exciting to see how your program has grown so much. New position there. Hillary, did you want to mention anything about MVP? Because I know I included a couple updates about your new 2.0 website and your new resources on the SimCap outreach tools.
Yes. So MVP, our 2.0 pilot planning process has kicked off. And yeah, did you put that in your, it's in the agenda, Steph? Yeah, so we have information on that. We'll be gathering information on the process. We've got 30 pilot communities, one of which being CMRPC's group, and the Hassanamisco and Nipmuc also got an award for 2.0 this year to do the planning and setting some priorities, and then having additional funding to start a seed project that will look at their resilience priorities. Yes, I just saw an email this morning about the ShimCap updates. So I'll have to dig those out and maybe I'll be better prepared for next month.
I
But
think it was
yeah,
just they made some social media links that people can share.
Okay. Yeah, but I also put in the chat with Mass ECAN, the Ecological Climate Adaptation Network, and DER. MVP is putting together a series of field trips. One has already happened on the North Shore, and we have a couple other field trips that are based on watershed groups and talking about watershed collaboration. So if you have a chance to get along the East Coast, we have one on the Mystic River in the Boston area, and then another the Mattapoisett River Valley, both in October.
I know we have one of those on our event list, but I'll make sure that we have them both on there. So, yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, the other one was just finalized recently. So you're doing a great job.
I try. Okay. See what else do we have coming up? October 28th, we have the MACC Fall Conference. So it's a great opportunity to network and hear about what's going on with different conservation goals and tools in Massachusetts. And November 9th, if you haven't attended this one before, it's one of the best groups of people. The Regional Conservation Partnership Conference, it's hosted at UMass Amherst, and it brings people together that are advancing collaborative landscape conservation, which you may not think you do, but you're part of this group, so you totally do. And it's a really wonderful get together to hear about what others throughout all of New England are focusing on for landscape conservation and partnering together. So it's on November 9th. I think it's a free conference. I can't remember if it costs something. I can look it up. But it's a great one to attend, so we can share that with you. Other updates that folks want to share? We might just have a really short meeting today. Everyone's very efficient. There's like a little bit of a lull, right? Did you put in all your grants and you're finishing your field work and you want to take a break in October? Because that's how I feel. So I will say that I'm not here for our next collaborative meeting. It's the first one that I will not be here for. But Kaylee's going to run it. She'll do great. So please do join us next month. Our meeting will be on October 20th. And thank you to Heather and Peter for agreeing to be our speakers. We'll put that on the agenda. I'm very excited. I've already kind of explored on your website a little bit. I'll keep poking around on there and we can all learn a little bit more about what they have on that clickable map, which is so exciting. And I'm going to visit my sister in Oregon, so I will be away. Anything else that folks want to share? Really exciting weekend plans now that we thought it was going to be rainy and terrible, and now it's actually nice. Kate's going paddling. High water levels. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Quick meeting today, but really appreciate all the sharing of so much rich information and being able to partner with so many wonderful groups. Appreciate you. So see you next time and have a good weekend.
Take care. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.